Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Guys, I hope you guys are staying safe. Guys, smash the like button on this video. So guys, Amir King Khan explains why he fought Canelo Alvarez. He said, the reason why I fought Canelo Alvarez was because Floyd Mayweather was a beep, you know, and he didn't fight him. You know, this whole Floyd Mayweather stuff, for me, Floyd Mayweather clearly avoided Khan. Let me actually get the article up actually behind so I can actually talk about this. Sorry guys, I'm just getting the article up. Give me a second, guys. Give me a second. Where's the article? Boxing. Khan boxing scene. Okay, wait a sec. Okay, so Khan says, Mayweather was a peep and wouldn't fight me, so I agreed to fight Canelo. So what does Mr. Khan have to say? He goes, when Golden Boy CEO Oscar De La Hoya called me, let me just move this over here. Sorry guys, I'm just moving that over here so I can have this, I can just see. He said, when Golden Boy CEO Oscar De La Hoya called me, I couldn't say no. Maybe I'm too brave for my own good. Mayweather was being a beep and wouldn't fight me. So I said, cool, let's do it. It was a mismatch on paper. To be leading the fight was amazing, really. I earned his respect. Yes, I got knocked out, but he was one of the best Mexican fighters of all time. I weighed in on that night 158 pounds and he was 187 pounds. It was crazy at the weigh-in. He didn't seem that big, but when I saw him in the corner, I was thinking, what am I doing here? He needs he had his back to me and it was huge. So Amir Khan saying that, you know what, Canelo Alvarez was massive. He was 187 pounds and he was 158 pounds. The size difference was massive. And he said that at the weigh-in. You know what? And I actually saw that. When Canelo weighed in against Khan, he didn't look too big. You know, he actually looked, my dad was saying he looks pretty small. But the next day, oh my goodness, Canelo looked massive. So he had rehydrated massively. And he was huge because I remember seeing his back as well. I was like, whoa, this guy's massive. His neck and everything was huge. Khan looked like a half or quarter of him. That's how he just looked like a lion in there with a deer, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like so much difference in size. Canelo was so big. And yeah, I can understand that. I can understand what Khan's saying there because Canelo was massive. But in terms of the Mayweather, listen, you know, Mayweather for me messed Khan around. And I think Khan had a very good first part of his career at 140 pound, but I think at 147 pound, I think his career was messed around. And listen, you can't blame anybody for messing around your career. It's your own fault. Let me take you guys back. Amir Khan was scheduled to fight Devin Alexander in 2012 in December. I believe that Amir Khan pulled out that fight because he was told by one of Mayweather's teams that we'll give you the fight with Mayweather. So Khan pulled out that fight when he could have become a welterweight world champion. And remember, Khan never became a welterweight world champion. And it's sad, really, because with the talent that guy had, you know, when you think about guys like Broner, Maidana, Paulie Malignaggi, guys like that became welterweight world champions, but Amir Khan never. For me, Amir Khan was going to fight Devin Alexander for the welterweight championship, who he fought a year later and beat. Amir Khan would have beaten Devin Alexander. He would have become a welterweight world champion. Mayweather's team, I think Mayweather got in touch and said, we'll fight you next. So I have a feeling that Mayweather had no intention of fighting Khan. Like, these are just my opinions. I don't know for sure. These are just my opinions. I'm just letting you know what I think. And I think Khan pulled out. And then also then there was this stuff about fight on my undercard. Khan fought on his Maidana undercard when he fought Collazo. He beat Collazo, and apparently then he was supposed to get the Mayweather fight. He never got the Mayweather fight. I don't think Mayweather had any intention of fighting Amir Khan. Just being brutally honest. I think he was giving him the runaround. But then you could say the same, Ikama, Amir Khan did the same to Kell Brook. And as you guys know, I keep it real on my channel. I'm a big Amir Khan fan, but I keep it real. And Amir Khan avoided Kell Brook, but Floyd Mayweather avoided Amir Khan. There's no two ways about it. You know, Floyd was one of the greatest fighters of all time. There's no doubt about it. But he avoided Amir Khan. You know, that fight was talked about for at least 4 or 5 years, since about 2010-11. And yeah, Khan took his losses, but there was always times where Khan could have fought Floyd. Floyd could have fought Khan. It doesn't matter about the losses, because there was many times that fight was there. Like when Maidana, Khan won the pole, and Mayweather. And that's another thing. Khan won the pole, right? And he did a poll, and on his poll, Khan won. And he still didn't choose Khan. He still didn't choose Khan. He chose Maidana. And then Floyd tried to justify his actions by saying, well, Maidana won other polls, but the poll that you put out on your page, Khan won that. So I'm not even saying Khan would have beaten Mayweather, because I don't. I think I would have favored Mayweather to win. But the point I'm trying to make is that I think Floyd clearly avoided Amir Khan, and he gave him the runaround, in my opinion. I don't think he had any intention of fighting him. And Amir Khan, out of desperation, ended up fighting Canelo Alvarez when he should have never been in the ring. Yeah, he did well for the first couple of rounds, and he was doing very well. You know, I've had certain people say that, oh, Khan wasn't outboxing Canelo. I've had certain Canelo fans say that, no, Canelo was always going to win that fight. He was too big, but Khan was ahead in that fight. There's no way that you could tell me that Canelo was ahead. I just don't. Khan was landing the cleanest shots, but Canelo was always going to win that fight. Khan was just not big enough. But Khan took that Canelo fight out of desperation because he couldn't get a big fight, because guys like Pacquiao and Mayweather didn't fight him. He had no intention of fighting Canelo. That was a fight out of desperation. That was a fight taken out of desperation. And it's sad, because Khan, after that's career was over. At world level, he was never the same guy. He was never that guy after that. You know, I feel like, you know, you can never say someone led you on or whatever, but I felt like that. But then you could say Khan did the same thing with Brook, but at least Khan's now fighting Brook. You know, and then Brook's getting that opportunity of getting the ring in with Khan, but Khan never really ever got the opportunity to fight Floyd. And I felt like Khan, I think it's Amir Khan's own fault. He wasted a lot of his second part of his career chasing Floyd Mayweather. He didn't need to. Khan was a big enough name. He should have tried to carve out his own legacy. He was always going to make good money for whoever he fought. You know, I don't think the Canelo fight at the time was sensible. I think Khan was on a good roll. I think he was doing very well. And I think the Khan that fought Canelo Alvarez would have given any welterweight trouble. Yes, I'm telling you, Khan that fought Canelo would have given any welterweight trouble. Believe me. He would have caused any welterweight trouble that night. Spence, Porter, any of those guys. Brook, Garcia, any of those guys could have got beaten that night against Amir Khan. That's how he was boxing beautifully. You imagine the way Khan was boxing against Canelo if there was a welterweight in there. You know, that Khan would have been so competitive. And people automatically say now that Khan would have lost to everybody because of the fact that he's been brutally knocked out. But sometimes you take stupid fights. Yeah, Khan lost to Garcia. I feel that was down to Khan's stupidity, not Garcia's brilliance. Khan was stupid in that fight. He went and fought toe-to-toe because Danny Garcia's dad was saying a lot of crazy things about him. People don't look at these things. People don't evaluate these things. Amir would have beaten Danny Garcia if Amir didn't go and fight emotionally in that fight. But nobody looks at that. Nobody really takes that. When you analyze a career, nobody did just look, oh, you lost to Danny Garcia. But people don't really know what happened prior to that. And listen, they did their plan worked. Danny Garcia's dad plan worked. They got into Khan's head and they made him fight a stupid fight. But if the Khan that fought Canelo beats Danny Garcia, no problem. No problem. Spence is a difficult fight because Spence is a big guy. He's a strong guy. He's very technically sound, you know, and I think Amir would have boxed his head off. But I just think Spence would have got to him later on in the fight. I do think that Amir would have outboxed. If Brook was doing well against Spence early, Khan would have outboxed him. We all know Khan's the best at winning rounds. I just don't think Spence would have been able to win rounds against Khan. And I think Spence would have come out boxing, but then I think Spence would have changed his approach and Spence would have started hunting Khan down, started walking him down. And I just don't think Amir would have been able to keep him off. Who knows? We never know. But I think Amir Khan hurt his legacy because I think those were winnable fights for him. I'm not going to say I think Spence would have been a favourite in that fight. I think the Porter and Brook fight for me were proper 50-50s. I think he would have beaten Porter. I think the Brook fight was a 50-50, especially the Brook that fought before Golovkin was definitely, for me, a 50-50 fight. That was a very dangerous fight. Brook was a top fighter. I think Thurman was very... I actually think Amir Khan has a better chance of beating Spence than Thurman. I think Thurman's style would have been problematic because Thurman was very athletically gifted and he's very explosive. I actually think that Khan had a better chance of beating Spence. Also, Khan does well against southpaws. So I actually would have given him a better chance against Spence. I think Khan's style would have given Spence all kinds of trouble. But like I said, I think the size and strength may later on in the fight took its toll. I think Thurman would have been dangerous. I think Thurman could have knocked Khan out at any point in that fight. I think he's a very dangerous, athletically gifted, very explosive fighter. And I just think styles make fights. And I think Thurman's style... I think Brook would have been a great fight. I think Brook's style would have suited Khan as well. But Brook also had great timing, and that would have been problematic for Amir Khan. But I would have, for some reason, I like that Spence fight. I think the Spence fight, it wouldn't have shocked me if Khan pulled off an upset in that one. But I would have favoured Spence. As I said, I think that's how I think the fight would have gone. I think the Brook fight was a proper 50-50. I would have favoured Khan maybe 55-60% against Porter. But those three, Brook, Spence and Thurman, I think he had the least chance of beating Thurman. I think he had more of a chance against Spence. And I think he had even more of a chance against Brook. But again, I think they were good fights. I think they were all great fights. And unfortunately, Amir hurt his legacy, the second part of his legacy, by not fighting those guys. Because I think he could have beaten those guys. So it breaks my heart that, I feel like he should have, second part of his career, I felt like he kind of was more a business-orientated career rather than what it should have been. I really do think that. I really think Amir Khan could have had a great chance against any welterweight on his day. Not saying he would have beaten everybody, but I think he would have had a great shot. Unfortunately, that Canelo fight ended his career. Ended his career at world level. Finished him. Because he went inactive after that, and then he wasn't the same. You can't come back from a devastating knockout like that, especially when you're older. You're 29. He had a tough career prior to that. It's not like he had easy fights. He had fights with like Maidana, Lamont Peterson. Danny Garcia wasn't an easy fight. Even the other fights that he won comfortably, they're not easy fights. They take a lot out of you. We just don't see it. But Amir Khan had a very, very tough career. And so has Brook. And let's see how this fight plays out with Khan and Brook. But I feel like both of them hurt their legacies. Brook hurt his legacy by... Brook hurt his legacy by fighting Golovkin. Khan hurt his fighting Canelo. I think their careers world level was over. But I think Khan wanted Mayweather and Pacquiao. He didn't get it. Unfortunately, I don't know why. For some reason, a lot of these top echelon guys in around Amir Khan's weight didn't really want to fight him. Bradley didn't fight him. Bradley ducked him. Let's be brutally honest. Manny Pacquiao didn't fight him. I ain't gonna say Manny Pacquiao ducked him. I just don't think things worked out. I think Floyd Mayweather definitely avoided Khan, and I'm not even gonna sit here and say I don't think Khan would have won against Mayweather. I think Mayweather's one of the greatest fighters ever, but I just think that Mayweather avoided Khan. He avoided him, man, and I just feel like Mayweather gave Khan the runaround. I just don't ever think he was going to fight Amir Khan. I just don't think he had any intention of fighting Amir Khan. I don't. And I just feel like Amir Khan chased something that was never there. The Floyd fight was never there. But he chased it and kind of hurt his legacy in a way. Because he avoided the Brook fight. He avoided a lot of fights himself at welterweight. Like Thurman wanted to fight him. Brook wanted to fight him. Porter would have fought him. Spence would have fought him. But he kind of hurt his legacy in a sense because, at welterweight, who did he really beat, really? With Collazo, yeah, he's a former world champion. Alexander, former world champion. But they weren't the top echelon guys at that point. The top echelon guys were Brook, Porter, Spence, Thurman. And listen, they were all winnable fights. It's not like Khan couldn't have won those fights. He could have done. But when you go and take a Canelo fight and get knocked cold, automatically people's opinion of you, he's chinny, he can't take a punch. But he's just been knocked out by a middleweight. You see, so your opinion, people's opinion about you changes. And it's sad because I think Amir Khan was capable of so much. He was capable of so much, and it wasn't the chin. He could have done so much more, but unfortunately, bad career moves hindered him. But what do you guys make of it? What do you guys think of what he had to say about Floyd Mayweather? What do you guys think of the situation of him fighting Canelo? Was Canelo just too big? Do you think that was a silly fight for Khan to take? Did that end Khan's career? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below and let me know what you think. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.